So the financial management of our business is pretty critical. Whilst we really enjoy the physical side of farming and love working with the cows and grass, it really is a business, and it has to deliver for us a return on capital. And so we have a discipline of running it exactly like that and have an expectation that the asset sweats for us. That is a real focus for us, and it's an enjoyable part of the business once you really get a tight grip on it. So we spend a reasonable amount of our time working at both a sort of strategic level and a business management level. In terms of the mechanics of it, where we spend a month and a half probably setting our annual budget, and that's done in autumn, normally completed mid-April, late April. We will do, so that's an annual process. The input side of the budget doesn't get reviewed. We will review the income side as it relates to tax decisions during the season. On a monthly basis, we'll do analysis of variance and revise cash flow reports, and then on a day by day we're monitoring our cash position. So that's an important part of our business. So we always know the exact cash position of the business.
I think as we've understood our business more, I think we've actually enjoyed the time in the office. At first it was perhaps a chore, just stuff that has to be done. And there is, of course, the bits, every month you've got to do the bills, you've got to do the wages. But I think it's the other monitoring and benchmarking that actually makes it quite fun. It actually makes you realise why you're here doing it, and and it gives you more time to go out and enjoy the physical stuff outside.
Annual budgets set online using online tools, Cash Manager. So that's an annual process that we do, and that software generates a wide range of reports around analysis of variance or updated cash flow. So we use that tool a lot for monitoring month by month or more frequently the business performance. In terms of comparing ourselves to others, that's a really valuable exercise that we undertake. So there's a couple of avenues that we do that. We will benchmark individual farms on physical KPIs. So there's a bit of value sitting in that. But probably the greater values is financial benchmarking our business against other operators, and we use a range of options there. Our accountant has a system, in-house system of benchmarking financial information. We also use dairy-based to a certain extent. Probably the greatest value the most value we get out of benchmarking is working with a peer group of farmers and other equity partnerships that we're involved in. So we do quite a bit of benchmarking, and it's a value proposition in both directions there. So we have a group of sort of equity partners that we do some quite a bit of work around and use that specifically to identify areas where other businesses are doing a better job than us, and we drill down into that to find out how and why. So and that's a two-way process. So we get a lot of value out of doing that. We talked earlier about benchmarking. Some of the key benchmark numbers that we look at on a financial basis are EBIT per hectare and cost of production, which are effectively the two key drivers of free cash or any of the return on investment parameters. So they're the key numbers that we look at. Inside cost of production, we'll break it down across the 15 key components, and drill right through all of those. As we code our bills, we have an exhaustive list of detail within that, but at a benchmarking level, the components of cost of production are probably the most important parameters. At a physical KPI level, the gross outputs, so the numbers have some value. So that's production per hectare and per cow, and also grass harvested per hectare. But the key system drivers are really cost of production for us in terms of benchmarking. For benchmarking purposes, we talk about EBIT and cost of production. The terminology EBIT is similar to operating profit, so it's a similar concept, and our cost of production is similar to the farm working expenses per kilogram milk solids. Just use different terminology for the groups that we benchmark. Our farm working expenses or cost of production typically don't vary much season on season, and that's principally driven by not changing our farming system. So we're fortunate in Canterbury to have a pretty tight control over the physical drivers in terms of having irrigation and control there, but our system really describes the cost of production or the farm working expenses per kilogram, and so if we don't vary our system or change year on year, we get a pretty consistent output year on year, overlaid of course with change in inflation or some of the costs of input. Yeah, early in our farming career, we had a view, and we still do now, to cut our cloth to suit our means, or live within your means. So I clearly understood the value of a dollar invested versus a dollar spent. So our focus has always been on relying on the compounding value of investment. So when we were first farming, whilst our friends might have been out having more holidays and more consumer goods, probably Rachel and I had the philosophy of investing or paying down debt or growing our business to allow the business to grow and create future wealth opportunities, and that's bearing fruit for us now in terms of the flexibility that we have, but certainly have always relied on living well within our means and investing rather than consuming as it relates to free cash. So our staff or our contra milker is involved to a certain extent on the budgeting process, principally around the physical KPIs or the physical drivers of the budget. So that's involved in a discussion around fertility, animal health programs, nitrogen use, feeding levels, stocking rates are some of the real physical drivers. We communicate really openly with our staff around our budget and the level of expenditure, and we do that to really get a lot of buy-in from our guys, and we talk a lot about the importance of driving a low-cost system, and our team's really proud to be involved in operating a system like that. We report back to them on the physical outputs and the financial outputs, not on a monthly basis unless there's specific reason to do so. But we involve the whole team in discussions about how our business is performing, and we really rely on those guys to be making smart day by day decisions to deliver on our financial result.